Everyone, welcome to Online Seller UK podcast. My name is Prabhat, founder at Online Seller UK. And today we've got another interesting topic. It's about Amazon's vendor current situation there. So I'm speaking with Carina from e-commerce nurse. So welcome to our podcast, Carina.
And thank you for having me and welcome everyone. I'm excited to talk to you today about the those common vendor challenges and opportunities coming, that vendors are facing right now and it will be in 2025 and beyond.
Excellent. So it's interesting to think now. We're thinking about 2025, which is interesting itself. So let's start with the challenges, Karina, that vendors are facing, recently. But before I start on the topic, so forgive me, I going back to introduce yourself a little bit better, and then also your company, and then we'll go into the topic.
Okay, fantastic. So I'm Carina McLeod, and I've been in the Amazon space for nearly 20 years. That's where I blame those grey hairs and wrinkles are from dealing with Amazon for so long. I spent over 7 years working at Amazon in the UK within vendor management and worked across multiple product categories from home and garden to clothing, sports and fitness. Very much worked in the newer categories and launching those into the UK market. I then moved over to the other side and have been since working with sellers and vendors and just helping them navigate, understand Amazon, the common challenges and how to sort of identify opportunities and grow on the platform. So that's where my business, e-commerce nurse, comes into things. So e-commerce nurse is an Amazon focused agency. We've been going for 7 years now. We are based in the UK. We support brands, both sellers and vendors, and we help them do exactly what I've always been doing is helping them grow on Amazon through account management, creative, ads management, you name it, anything, any lever out there to grow your business. That's what we support. And we've also recently moved into the TikTok shop space as well.
Excellent. I think that's an interesting space. I think we'll see some growth there for brands as well. Um, okay, cool. So coming to the vendor side of things, so I was talking earlier. So what sort of challenges that vendors are facing these days?
There's a couple of challenges. First one is just in general, the competition is rife on Amazon. And so it's, you know, brands and vendors, and it can even be sellers as well, really, they've got to be doing something more unique to be able to stand out from the competition. And that's where the other challenge comes out is in how to stand out from the competition comes at a cost as well, because Amazon has now become a pay to play platform. To get that visibility, you need to be paying for ads, you need to be investing in more heavily in your product pages, and no longer is it a case where a lot of vendors have always had, a lot of them have had a strong brand. Having that brand, an established brand, isn't going to just mean that you're going to be successful on Amazon these days. Even if you're successful and well known outside of Amazon, that is something that is becoming a challenge for brands. Um, Aside from that, of course, margins are shrinking. I talked about the pay to play platform, running ads, investing in your product pages. All of that comes at a cost. And not only does that come at a cost, you've got Amazon who are refusing to accept cost price increases, even though it is very obvious out there that costs are rising. And so that becomes a real battle, is how do vendors then remain profitable on Amazon in a place where costs are rising to be able to compete on the platform, and at the same time costs are increasing in general because that is what is happening in the economy.
I think the cost you mentioned, it's one of the really, really common challenges that we are seeing. Um, Obviously the cost one will not reduce. So when we talk to, or when the vendors talk to Amazon with regards to increase of the cost, does it actually happen, or does Amazon says no most of the time?
It's so much on a case by case basis because it really depends on the relationship that you have with Amazon and really how big a brand you are, right? Because if you're a small brand that Amazon, you may not have a vendor manager at Amazon. Well, one, it becomes very difficult to even have somebody to negotiate with. And, and in terms of are they going to invest in a negotiation or be concerned that you could turn around and say, well, we'll walk away, we'll go to seller. Chances are that if you're not on their radar and you're not a big percentage of their vendor business, then they're probably not necessarily it's not going to necessarily get a reaction from them either. If you are a very big brand who are having those annual business reviews or even quarterly business reviews with Amazon, then that becomes different because that then becomes a negotiation with Amazon because Amazon are going to be more invested in you. If you're driving a huge percentage of their revenue share within that category, they of course don't want to lose you and they want to work with you. And then it becomes a case of how those brands negotiate successfully as well with Amazon.
Okay, excellent. So, obviously, given your long history with Amazon, both working inside and outside of Amazon itself, um, what sort of changes are you seeing for vendors in the last few years?
The support is limited. That's a huge thing. And if I go back, I started at Amazon in 2004, so a very long time ago, right? And that is when the support was there. We were able to, had the ability. Well, I say had the ability. We still had hundreds of vendors to manage, but it was still the support was available. Of course, everything has changed. Only the very large accounts get that support and that support can change. So you might have a vendor manager that you're working with, you establish a great rapport with, but then that vendor manager changes category or leaves Amazon or goes into a different department. And so that becomes the challenge of actually, not wanting to invest in a certain amount of building a rapport with your vendor manager, but then that vendor manager can change. So that's something that's really different. And it's almost that we talked about this cost challenge. You also have to almost pay for Amazon's attention in the sense of paying for an AVN. And so that then becomes, you're investing in additional support for someone that can help you with problems, escalate issues, which really would have been what we did in the days of when we were vendor managers. And then that comes at a cost. So that's the biggest thing for us is my days at Amazon. I mean, I was setting up products, setting up promotions, doing everything because we didn't even have a team to outsource any of that to. That was all managed by ourselves, and that was pre Vendor Central. So I was part of the Vendor Central launch, which grew into something that we never thought would be where it is today. So support is definitely the biggest change and biggest challenge, especially for the smaller vendors. We talk with many vendors of all different shapes and sizes, and it's really interesting because you can see how the smaller vendors are struggling to get that attention and build that rapport with Amazon vendor managers. Yet some of the larger vendor managers aren't even aware that there's smaller vendors because they've got that relationship and because they're a big part of their Amazon's revenue share, they have that relationship, so they don't have those challenges. So we're seeing lots of different things according, again, as I say, really depends on the size of you as a vendor and the importance that you play in Amazon's growth plans.
Yeah, excellent. I think it will be interesting to see how that changes, or if that support side of things changes
Mm.
in itself. Um, okay, interesting. So I was talking to somebody else the other day, and then despite all these challenges, Amazon still it's a good platform to be in because
Hmm.
of multiple reasons and all that sort of thing. So um, now let's talk about some of the opportunities there. So there may be vendors who is listening to us now, thinking, oh, we talked about these challenges. Is this a good platform to be in? So talk to us, what sort of opportunity a brand who is not there can see with Amazon vendor, or brands who is already there and struggling, how do you um, actually take on this challenge and move forward with vendor?
Yeah, and the great thing is there is still opportunity. It feels a bit like doom and gloom, the fact with that limited support, the increased cost, but it's really about getting creative. Not assuming that the product range that you have in another retailer, you just pick that range up and put it on Amazon as a vendor, and that range will then be successful, because you've got to take into account, um, you know, there's all these things in terms of Amazon is price matching. So that then becomes a challenge of promotions that you offer to one retailer. Amazon then expects that promotion on the other platform, etc. So that's where you need to be creative. And a lot of brands that are starting to see and vendors seeing success is, creative in the form of exclusive. So offering Amazon specific products that you'll only find on Amazon. Now, whether Amazon like that, at the end of the day, they want to have the products that can be, exclusive isn't necessarily fantastic for them, in the sense that they want to have that wider selection and the products that are available to other retailers. But at the same time, it helps vendors maintain those relationships with other retailers, avoid those price wars, and then create an exclusive, especially for Amazon. And that could be like a colorway of a product, or just, it doesn't have to be anything majorly different. It's just something that has something distinctively different, that they can then sell to Amazon. You can also go into that also in terms of multi-packs and just bundles, and starting to create. So we work with a client that actually they have their seller platform and then they have their vendor platform, but actually their vendor platform is where they start selling those multi-packs to their customers, and just creating that variety as well.
Okay, I think it's really interesting of different ways of dealing with vendors. So obviously looks like there's lots of opportunities there. So thank you for talking to us today. So before we end, if somebody wants to talk to you and have a chat with you about their account itself, whether they've started or not, where's the best place to find you?
Yeah, so if you're a vendor and you're in a position where you're looking to grow and you're feeling a bit stagnated, or a bit stuck in the mud, then please reach out to us. Also, if you've been invited to become a vendor and you want to explore more, or even if you're on the seller side, we also support sellers. You can find us at ecommercenurse.com. And if you go to our contact us form, fill in the contact us form, and our team will get back to you and put some time in for a discovery call to understand and look into how we can support you. You can also email us at hello@ecommercenurse.com as well. So hopefully, if you've been listening today and you are thinking that there's support that you need, we can be there to help you.
Excellent. Thank you again, Karina, for your time today. I'll speak to you soon. All the best.
Thank you, and thank you everyone for listening.